Reality is like a film set. There are directors, action, producers,
Are we on schedule?
and even actors.
Can somebody get me a coffee?
The trick is realizing that you are playing all of these roles. You are the executive producer of your reality. My name is Daniel,
My name is Lauren.
and we're here to break the fourth wall to discover what's behind the scenes. And what you hear just might have you saying, "That's so meta."
Welcome everybody to That's So Meta,
Where we discuss the mystical, magical, and metaphysical.
We're back again
We're
after
back.
several months. We only did this once in a blue moon, great moon, new moon, blood moon.
We're back. Here we are.
It's us.
It's us. Welcome to us.
We got some announcements, some updates.
It's been a while. We better have an update.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Could
We've
you
just been
imagine if
sitting in the
nothing's
corner.
happened?
We've been sitting in a corner staring at it for the past 3 months. Just waiting for something to strike.
Strike the match. Strike while the iron is hot.
So what's poppin'?
What's poppin', G?
What's our updates?
We are in the midst of winter. At the recording of this particular episode, it is the end of January. What is this, episode 23? 4? We're not doing seasons. It's just going to count up.
Yeah, we're just going to keep going and going and going. We take breaks when we feel like it, you know.
We're filmmakers. We do indie films and we do videography as a service. And one of our movies was accepted into a bona fide film festival. The Halloween movie, The Phantom Witch, was in an international festival. And our films, The Phantom Witch and Holbrook, have been submitted to 5 more. We're waiting to hear back on those, but it's very exciting to get that stamp of approval, you know.
That's awesome.
International festival, very exciting. So we're doing movies. We're writing a project right now. It's both very early stages and also 20 years stage. Very near and dear to my heart. We'll tell you more about that soon. But we're doing a little sci-fi film soon. And we're doing a lot of writing. Any filmmakers out there?
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
I love analyzing. I love talking about movies. I love it. I love movies.
Lauren's quite the film reviewer, analyzer.
It's fun.
You're good at it.
It's my favorite pastime. To like critically think about film and TV.
Theory. Yeah. You know, as a filmmaker, I have a lot of weaknesses and some strengths. And Lauren's strengths happen to be my weaknesses, as it were.
We're a good team.
Yeah. So we're working on some stuff, and we hope you are too.
Yeah.
I'm going to tease a little announcement here. It's premature, but I'm working on it. I'm slow to things. But I'm going to be launching a course. And if you're familiar with That's So Meta or any of my films or my other podcast or anything about Daniel James, you know that I'm into the metaphysics and the spirit science. And my life is based on a lot of these philosophies and principles. So I will be doing a course, okay? And I'm going to test it. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment once I build it and put the course together so that it's ready to roll out and be public. But I'm going to be bringing on, I'll announce it, maybe here on the show, maybe on, you know, my YouTube, my Facebook, everywhere you can find me. I'll do an announcement where I'm going to be accepting only six participants to work with personally on a course that I am handcrafting myself on a fun, magical little exercise that you can use in your day-to-day life, that if you go through the course and take it seriously, follow the instructions and the steps, you should be able to do some pretty interesting things to improve your life and add more magic into it. So if you're curious about that, if you're interested, hit me up. We'll talk about it. But there's a lot of media involved, and I'm in the earlier stages of designing it. And so it will happen. And when it does, maybe you'll be one of the 6 people that I work with personally on this course, if it's interesting and exciting to you. So that's another little teaser we have.
Awesome. Very exciting. Very exclusive.
Lauren's helping. She's going to be behind the scenes the whole way. Special announcement. We do have a special guest scheduled for the end of June, which will be my friend Daniel Scranton, extraterrestrial, higher dimensional channeler, friend of mine. We met through the channeling community, and he's a very interesting, supportive, friendly guy. And I look forward to interviewing him and just catching up as I do with all my guests. I like to just chat with them because they're people that I know and care about. And so look out for that special guest episode coming soon. In the meantime, we aim to have maybe another 2 or 3 guests in the meantime, which are unannounced. But keep an eye out. We like guests.
We like talking to people.
Let's talk about it.
You know, we talk to each other all day. You know, let's
I'm
get
talking
somebody
to
else
you right
in here.
now.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel that. Okay, so, you know, when we take these longer breaks, these longer hiatuses, we like to kind of come back with, you know, a little bit more community-driven sort of episode. So I took to Facebook and I asked if there was anything that people wanted us to chat about, address, weigh in on. We have a couple 2-3 topics here that we'll give our metaphysical angle on, in hopes that it helps you see clearly and navigate your reality.
Give it to me. First one.
Let's go. Okay. So somebody asked about jumping timelines. How to jump timelines. Now, I could go pretty deep on that, but I'll keep it as straightforward as I can. Is there anything you'd like to say in terms of jumping timelines?
All I know is that I do it all the time.
Right. Now, Lauren does it, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I know a specific way that you do it very well.
Oh, I hardly ever do it intentionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's just something that
passive
happened.
thing.
Yeah.
So you're conscious of the way timelines work. And what Miss Lauren does is she jumps timelines more effortlessly than you can in a technical way by just kind of like accepting the now and coasting. She's more of a coaster and a drifter with her reality, whereas I'm more like trying to always steer the wheel and be more deliberate about it. But there's power in both of those methods. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of a drifter.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little derogatory when you when you say it, but no, yeah, I definitely am just kind of floating around and seeing what's what. Every once in a while, you know, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll realize, oh no, this is different. Like something just feels different everywhere. And like, you know, the whole Mandela Effect thing.
That's actually one of our questions.
Okay, perfect.
Spoiler alert.
Spoils. The Mandela Effect, how, you know, something that you can remember so clearly and vividly never existed to begin with. And it gets its name from Nelson Mandela, who everybody thought died in prison and was in fact still alive. And it shocked a bunch of people. So that's more of like a larger collection of people that are experiencing the sensation of jumping timelines, of things changing, which is why, you know, you can post online and be like, does anybody, you know, remember Chick-fil-A being spelled this way or whatever? And it gets a lot of hits and it gets a lot of like recognition because a collective of people have switched.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that individuals can jump timelines relatively easily. And as long as you're aware of when it happens. And then it's kind of fun to decide why it happened. Like, what were you avoiding or protecting yourself from? You know what I mean? What were you going to say about jumping timelines?
Well, as a more technical, you know, sort of like metaphysical perspective on it, I do validate the way that you sort of navigate your reality, though, because it's less strict.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, I always use that phrase from Bashar, the greatest power requires the lightest touch. Some people are always like gripping on really tightly on how to, manifest and change their reality. And other people can actually be very good at it by kind of just
allowing it to be.
And this is sort of your approach. Mine. Here's my technical one to make it a little bit more complicated. First, start with the idea about timelines is that don't look at the timeline as that it's a past, present, and future linear thing that you're on like a train track. Instead, try to look at it like you are the timeline itself. You are a timeline. Your consciousness, your identity, your persona is a timeline. It's a total version of reality. It's its own total snow globe of past, present, and future. Your own subjective version of this collective reality is its own timeline. So in a sense, we all have our own timeline. So instead of you looking at timelines as if they're like, here is a mass collective version that we all experience the same way, here's my own that I'm on. So first identify timelines as that you are a timeline. Your whole reality is a timeline. Then let's say you're experiencing things in your life that are unfavorable, that you want to change, that you want to change your past, you want to change your present. You can jump timelines, which are sideways. They're not forward and backwards, but they're side to side. You are a timeline, and it's parallel. It's not forwards and backwards. So similar to using the law of attraction or manifesting something, you can jump timelines where what you want to change already is that way in the version of reality that you're shifting to. So we're always shifting through parallel realities. It's just unconscious. But we're always sort of creating a new past and a new present and a new future infinitely fast by switching through our own timelines. Now we can choose which timeline to be on, where something in your past or something in your present is different, even radically different. You can change those. You can jump timelines to ones you more prefer by using deep quantum meditation techniques, by using visualization techniques, by acting and speaking in a way that is reflective of the new past you want to create, the new present that you want to experience now. And you can do this slowly by taking action, little by little. You imagine and visualize the change of the timeline that you want to be on. And then you take whatever actions you can in the direction of that timeline. And then little by little, your reality will change around you to reflect that. Or if you're extremely disciplined, which I've experimented with, but I find it to be extremely challenging, you could do quantum leaps where, let's say you got one timeline here and one timeline here. And in between, there's like a couple 100 million sub-timelines that are just slightly different from each other enough until they change to be really big difference over here, right? You can quantum leap from timeline A to timeline F, where all of a sudden, like something in your life that was always a congruent reality is different. And it's different for everybody in your reality, because on your new timeline, that thing has changed in a big way very quickly. So that's like a quantum leap or a quantum jump. Those are definitely possible. But I hope that sort of like clears up, gives you a couple different ways to look at timeline jumping. You can do it deliberately and consciously, like I do, by using visualization techniques and projecting myself into a different timeline, or you can do it like Miss Lauren, where you're always just trusting that the timeline that you're in right now has relevance, serves you in some way, and you kind of just coast, letting reality sort of be the way that it is, and in a way that's also powerful as well.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of staying present and recognizing your circumstance and, being very open to the possibility of something serving you better, regardless of whether or not you can immediately see the difference.
Which allows it to change then.
Right.
Because now you're not resisting anymore. That's one thing that will stop you from jumping timelines or manifesting something that you're trying to create, is resisting what is now. So as soon as you can, even if it's unfavorable for whatever reason, personal reason, your reality as it is, when you accept it, you have now the power to change it more.
Yeah. You know what else I was thinking? What if so by the way, I'm holding a desert rose
We know.
crystal and I keep dropping it and
Yeah, we
he's
know.
getting a little frustrated. But you know what? I'm playing. Let me play. So, you know what else is a fun idea when it comes to jumping timelines? I'm thinking, because in my life, I've had a couple of close calls with death.
Yeah, you have.
There's a couple times.
We both have.
A couple, 2-3 times. And I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm
In
still
this
here.
timeline. We're
But
good.
I'm in this timeline. So here's a fun idea. Now, this is just a hypothetical conversation between us girls.
Oh, between us girls?
Between us girls. When you die, wouldn't it be interesting if all you do when you die in one timeline, your consciousness just switches to a different timeline where you were still alive, where that incident didn't happen? Everything else is the same, but you didn't die right then. So you will, in fact, almost never die.
Yeah.
Because you're consistently changing between realities in which you've avoided death.
Yeah.
And where that version of you is gone.
Yeah.
And now you're back.
I think that's exactly how it works when you want to stay. Like if you want to stay in the continuity of Lauren, you'll do that as many times as you think you need to until you're like, okay, I've experienced enough in that lifetime and I can move on and stay permanently.
Yeah.
No, totally. I'm with that. I think we've all died multiple times in accidents where you're like, holy shit, how did I survive that? You probably didn't. You didn't.
You didn't.
You're just
But
in
you
another
kinda
timeline
Yeah.
where you're still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. It kind of, I don't know, maybe it just helps me kind of understand the things that I've been through, but I think it's pretty cool to think about that I'm like not done.
You will always exist as long as it's relevant. Trust me. When people pass away, when they die in your life, that was it. They were meant to move on. If people are still alive in your life or you're still alive, there's a relevant reason for that. Period.
And the people that passed maybe have just moved on to a different timeline where they didn't then, and it's just relevant for that journey.
Totally.
Yeah. Interesting.
We
I
just
think that'd
fight
be
those
fun.
concepts with our brain and our egos because we want to understand things in the 3D in a literal sense, but like,
Yeah.
the physics are very different in terms of the spirit and the consciousness than we understand them. The Mandela Effect, okay, as mentioned earlier in the episode, I've always understood it. In a sense, it's jumping timelines. But if you remember things being differently than they are now, the thing is the continuity would carry forward. So your memory of it being the way that it is now would change as well.
Okay.
Okay. So in this timeline, once I told you there are no timelines, you are a timeline. It was Bernstein Bears, but now it's Bernstein Bears.
Which I distinctly remember when that changed. Sorry.
I
I was
remember
a kid.
a lot of things that have changed. Like I actually saw an actor, like there was an actor in the X-Files, a lead actor that died. And there was like in memory of, and then all of a sudden, like a year later, he was still alive doing episodes and it went totally unaddressed. Things like that happen all the time and people just don't take notice of it because if there's no proof, because we're all trained into needing validation and we're all trained into needing proof of everything, then you just forget about it and you mull it over and you move on. But so my one argument with the Mandela Effect is, yes, it's a real phenomenon. Let's start there. It's real. It happens. But like I said, if you are in a timeline where it's Bernstein Bears and not Bernstein Bears, your memory would always remember it to be that one specific way. In your congruent timeline, there'd be no argument between the two different titles. Title of a name, or a Sinbad doing, a movie that people think doesn't exist. Whatever it is, you would always have a memory of it being the way that it is in your version of reality.
Okay.
Now, if it's like in The Matrix, where deja vu and they're like, oh, it happens when they change something, I think that's a different phenomenon altogether. It's not the changing of a timeline.
Okay.
It's when something significant, past, present, or future, has been changed using technology. There are what's called as byproducts. imperfections as a result of them changing something. Okay, you follow?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say, for example, Chick-fil-A was spelled a certain way, and then now the hyphens are moved and the title is moved, and it was always that way no matter where you look on the internet for the spelling of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a byproduct of the what do you want to call them, the controllers using a type of technology that they were changing something much bigger, something more serious, and those little slippages happen as a result, because I think a lot of small little things need to change to support bigger ones. Okay, so people, one of the bigger arguments with the Mandela Effect is like, they're like, well, why would they just change the Bernstein Bears and the Bernstein Bears, or the color of a product or something silly? They don't change those menial little
just like
things.
a byproduct.
Those are probably a whole bunch of small things that change to support a bigger thing. And I think what they're also doing is they're changing the past so that something in the present is different. And they could also be sandbagging future events to roll out a certain way by changing the present events now as well. So that's just my perspective on what the Mandela Effect is. I think it's just a byproduct of a bigger, more manipulative sort of cut and paste in whatever the mass consensus continuity is. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think that it's ever necessarily an intentional thing that's happening. But I also think that even if it we're on the same page, I take it back.
Okay. Does it vibe check with you? Does it pass the vibe check?
It passes the vibe check.
Okay. Oh, this one. All right. Another comment. So we'll do one more. This last one. And she asked me just what my opinion is. And that's all that we ever discuss on this show is our opinions and our own subjective perspectives. But I told her she might not like this. But I have a lot of validating reasons to back up my opinions. Sorry, that's the way I feel. This is in regards to the QFS, or the quantum financial system. Now, back when Miss Lauren met me and we got together, things were getting serious, right? What was I obsessed about? What did I talk about all the fucking time ad nauseum? Shut up about it.
Freaking RV.
The RV.
The RV.
The reevaluation of currency. The global currency reset. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too deep because it's boring. And I'm sorry if that upsets you. But I was obsessed with the reevaluation of currency, where all of the world's impoverished currency that has no value anymore, it's worth like a cent. You can get $1 trillion of Zim or a dinar for like nothing. And then all of a sudden its value was going to return, and then everybody was going to be bazillionaires overnight. I bought into that. It's a trap. It's a lie. So with the reevaluation of currency, that's strike one. Then you have the global currency reset, same thing, where they just, all of the money, the value of it changes. There are handfuls of private podcasts and phone calls and networks of people that study and follow this global currency reset, and you've got these insiders that have the latest intel, banking officials, government officials who are always leaking this top secret information. The currency is going to reevaluate. And you've got like thousands or maybe millions of people who are hanging on these updates to come out every 3 days or once a week on these private phone calls, because I used to be in this community. The reason why I know about this is because I used to do this. And when I started noticing patterns that would repeat and repeat and repeat, and Lauren was noticing them and letting me know that, she's like, listen, I know you're excited about this and you believe in it, because why wouldn't you want to? It sounds very positive, very hopeful, very opportunistic, but when things are too good to be true, they usually are. And then I'm getting into this false ascension matrix, which I've taught a million times on the show. I talked about a million times, where you've got, masters of terraforming control, design all kinds of traps and blind spots that get people who think they're on the cutting edge of change and the cutting edge of freedom to invest into these hopium traps that they spend fucking years on, wasting their life in these traps, because I did. That lead to nothing. They lead to you chasing your tail forever. So then you start hearing about this quantum financial system. What it is it's a supercomputer. It's a quantum computer that it has technology and all kinds of stuff in it that we don't have, civilians don't have access to in the public, and it can do things that we can't. It know things that we don't know, and that it was going to that we were going to have a new digital currency that was all going to be processed through this quantum financial system that knew what everyone's fucking blood type was and what your social security number is and what color your eyes are at 3 o'clock in the morning. And everyone was going to get a new bank account that was going to have X amount of dollars loaded into it. And the quantum financial system was going to know how much dinar you had and how much Zim you had. It's a fucking lie. There are real quantum quantum computers, rather, but they're not financial. Now, all of our star family and our extraterrestrial races, they use quantum computers that are all built with crystalline technology. We don't have that shit here. You think the Cabal's going to let you use one of those devices? Keep waiting for your med beds, okay? They're coming. I'm sorry I get a little passionate about this, but guys, you got to start. Anytime that you have been made a promise like this for the med beds and the global currency reset and the reevaluation of your impoverished currency that's sitting in a fucking box under your bed that's worth a gazillions and gazillions of dollars in paper money that has no real value, we're dealing with the hopium trap here. Okay? These are misleading misdirections that keep you focused on something while the magician is working his sleight of hand and doing something else. There is no quantum financial system that's going to make everybody rich overnight. There are quantum computers. We're not using them as civilians. We don't have access to those. There are no white hats behind the scenes who are going to make the economy right again overnight. Now, if you want to get even deeper in that direction, extraterrestrial races that are actually peaceful and community driven, they don't have financial structures. They don't use any kind of currency. They don't use cryptocurrency. They don't use digital money. They have barter and trade systems. They have the holographic society, which is community-based skill of trades. If you need something, this specialist makes it for you. If the community needs X amount of houses and transportation, that's provided by the community. But there isn't one ruler, one daddy government that we all ask permission for to give us what we need to survive or make us pay for it with our taxation. So if you're being offered a better version of our economy, of our money, of our fiat currency, I would love to see it. But here's the thing. Digital currency is not the answer. It's not. Because it's still currency. It's still this digital fictional number on your computer, on your cell phone, has the value that you think it does. And that money sends and receives back and forth. NFTs, what the fuck is that? Do you know what I'm saying? All this digital stuff?
That's not the answer.
It's creating a digital prison. We're talking digital prison here. Where my grocery stores here in Pennsylvania now are literally accepting Venmo and PayPal as a valid method of payment at the grocery store until there is no fiat currency left. But that's not the answer, because the replacement, if it's all digital, is easier to control.
Right.
It's easier to manipulate. So, quantum financial computer, quantum financial system? No. Has it happened yet? I've been studying it. What year is it? 22? I've been studying it for 5 years. How many We Go Sundays do you need to hear before you realize that the global currency reset and the reevaluation of currency in the quantum financial system is another hopium trap to keep people running in circles while the magician works a sleight of hand.
I personally think that permission slips are okay for people to have. I think that something like the RV and the quantum financial system, if that's what gives you hope, if that's the thing that's helping you carry forward, that's fine. But you cannot expect something to swoop in and help you.
And save you.
You can't expect that. If you are, religiously seeing a medium or a channeler and you're constantly asking them the same questions over and over and over so that you can get your little sense of resolution to a problem, but you still are perpetuating the problem.
Right.
You can't expect them to be in charge of saving you.
Right. Like we're all waiting for this to happen to us.
Right.
For somebody to press the button and make all of our money problems go away.
It's okay if you find something that you truly believe in and it gives you the validation and the permission that you need to help yourself.
Right.
Like crystals. Like, channelers can help as long as you take action personally to help yourself.
Correct.
With the knowledge that you have now been given.
Exactly.
But you cannot keep seeing the same channeler over and over and over and over and asking them the same questions and perpetuating your own problems, hoping them to fix it for you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it's this whole thing with like the white hats and the Q movement, which, was it. If you study the false ascension matrix, then they only have like a few tricks that they use over and over and over again because they work. And
it's okay to fall into those traps as long as you get yourself out of it eventually. You need to learn your lesson and move past it.
Exactly.
But some people don't want to do that because they want somebody to save them. And that is not anybody's problem but their own. You know what I mean?
I do. Anything that teaches you, here's where the blind spots are in the false ascension matrix. I taught this on a GG Young post on our Facebook, and it got like 300 engagements. Like, to look for the false ascension matrix and the blind spots of where you're being misled, look for things that feel exciting and feel empowering, but maybe they have a time frame attached. Mm-hmm. They're projecting some sort of promise that is in the future. Mm-hmm. Any guru, any teacher, any extraterrestrial, any political insider that's making you promises about Friday or about the Lionsgate portal or the new moon, anything that's later, that's not right now, that you can't take action on right now and help yourself, you need to be extremely cautious of, that it might be misleading you in a circle.
If you are familiar with the restaurant Joe's Crab Shack.
Yeah, it's like a chain, East Coast chain.
Yeah, it's just like a seafood place. On the side of the building, painted above the door, it says free crab tomorrow. As in, you show up the next day for free crab. No, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, it's tomorrow.
That's the trick.
Every day you show up. No, it's tomorrow. It's right here. You
it's
see
coming.
It's tomorrow.
It's coming.
And you will never get your free crab.
But that shit works on people because they're hopeful. And I commend that. I commend you wanting change. I commend you wishing for better for our society and for our planet. But the thing is you have to do it. You do. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be given to you by, Ashtar Command. It's not going to come to you from Metatron. It's not going to come to you from the quantum financial Archangel Michael. It isn't coming from Daddy Trump. It's you. Mm-hmm. You are the aliens that are landing to save you. You are the new monetary system. You are the pushback to the government. You are the no. You are the yes, but it has to be you. Mm-hmm. And it's now. It's today. Whenever you're watching this right now, look at the clock. What time is it? Go ahead. What time is it right now for you watching this? It's right now. It's now. The time is now. Mm-hmm. It's not Friday. It's not the new moon in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. It's not tomorrow.
It's not free crab tomorrow. It's now. So what can you do right now, my friends? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do right now? Comment below. Like, comment, subscribe. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like watch all 24 of these episodes. I get dark sometimes, but I'm gonna say
That's
what I
fine.
need to say for me, and it's these are the things, okay, that Daniel needed to hear 5 years ago.
Well, yes and no, because if you think about it, you 5 years ago wouldn't have listened.
Facts.
So I think it's important, if this is the lesson that you need to go through, I think it's absolutely valid for that reason. But at the same time, always think about how, like you said, if they're projecting a time, how it's always tomorrow. It's always the next
Yep.
day, and it's
Yep.
never now. And also think about if it's anything that you can do
Right.
to help the situation,
And
or
not somebody who's gonna bring it to you later.
yeah, or if it's somebody else that you're waiting on to start something.
I like that. Yeah, it's a more simple way of.
You know,
Yeah, and that will help you guys. It
and
will.
we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We have our permission slips, and we do, we do occasionally fall into traps. But all you can ever do is your best,
Learn
and you learn every time.
and then
do
approach
your best
it
again,
more
and
empowered
then fail,
again.
and then do your best again.
Mm-hmm. You approach it again more empowered with what you've learned.
And it's easier to identify things once you've experienced them.
I would like to end this episode with a statement and a question. My statement is that we just finished watching Mr. Robot,
It's a great show.
and I loved it so much. Guys, you all have a favorite show out there. I got a lot of favorite shows, but Mr. Robot was fundamentally fantastic.
It was
And I
amazing.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was absolutely
I
incredible.
laughed, I cried. I reveled in the technological marvel that the show was.
Mhm.
The things that it achieved
Mhm.
were impressive. And we just finished it last night, which is why I'm bringing this up.
Very
I
fresh.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mhm.
So I'll end you with a question. What is your favorite show? Because we're filmmakers and we like to talk about TV and film production, because we do that. It's not all bad. Not all the people that make films are bad. What is your favorite show? Or what is it? Okay, what's a show that you really enjoyed that you've seen recently that you just finished? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Make a quantum leap in your life. Jump some timelines. Create some Mandela effects.
Yeah,
What do you have to say, Miss Lauren?
that's it.
That's it.
That's all I have.
This has been another exciting episode of That's So Meta. We hope you learned something today.
Yeah,
Thank you for being here with us.
just everybody always do your best.
Just do your best and
your
come
best.
back again having learned something,
And then do your best again.
and then do it again. That's
Cheers.
So Meta.